6 o'clock on Monday, December 9th, and this is a regular school board meeting. Janet, could you do roll call?
Charles Blacklands,
Here.
Reed Campbell,
Here.
Tom Hagelin.
Here.
Sue Kern,
Here,
Ruth Nelson,
Here.
Bob Nystrom,
Here.
all present.
thank you. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended? Apparently, there was a recognition added, as well as some additional dates at the end.
Also move.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a first from Director Nelson and a second from Director Nystrom. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We're going to start tonight with our Truth and Taxation meeting, and Marcy's going to give us the lowdown.
All right, well, welcome, good evening. I know that this is like one of the most exciting topics for you guys, so I'll try to be quick. This is the agenda for tonight. We're gonna talk about the big picture, property classification, values, the major changes in this year's pay 20 levy, school district factors affecting the levy, putting it all together, and then the 19-20 preliminary budget, and then if you have any questions, we'll go through that. The big picture, so legislature and the governor basically established the overall tax policy. So our legislature, meaning the House and Senate, they have the sole authority to create school levy options and then also the parameters, so the amount of state aid, the tax bases used for levies. And if you guys have questions while I'm doing this, please don't hesitate to ask. So school boards, meaning you guys, you participate in the state ed programs. Some of the programs are financed entirely by levies. Others are financed with levy and aid. It's all based on how the legislature decides that. And then this next one is the overall price of government. So it's actually going down. So fiscal year 16 is the very top. And then as you can see, they've even projected in the future years that it's going to continue to go down. Not just basically saying the same thing as that slide, that it's going to continue to decrease based on projections in 18 through 20. The state aid impact, so who collects? The state collects 62% of the revenues. School district, it's about 8%. And then who spends? School districts is about 27%. The reason why there's a difference there is some of the state collects the funds and then disperses it to us to spend. That's why there's a difference there. This is just basically saying state aid has not kept up with inflation. I know this is kind of a broken record. This is presented at pretty much every year. But if they had kept up with inflation, the ADM would be at $7,206 instead of $6,567. So it's a difference of $639 per pupil, or about $568 million annually. Levies across the state have significantly increased throughout the years because of the reductions in the state aid. So the red line is levies throughout the state of Minnesota, and then the yellow line is the state aid. And then the blue line is both of those combined. So you can see that they're trying to make up for the decreases in the state aid. With the reduction in state aid, metro districts were able to make up the difference more so than rural districts. They have a little bit more leeway on some of their levying authority. Property classification and market values. So When you get your tax statement, generally this is kind of what it looks like up in the corner. It'll have the estimated market value, if there's any exclusions or credits, and then the total market value. If you disagree with this valuation notice, it's sent out in the spring. You can go to the county and do an appeal. However, that would have been in the spring of 2019, so if you got your tax statement now and don't agree with it, it's already passed. So the spring of 2020 is actually for the following year's taxes, if that makes sense. The property classification and market value, I already went through that. That covers that. Property classifications are set by the legislature, so you can see the classifications are listed: farms, seasonal rec, commercial and industrial. The market value share is based on what their market value is, and then the share of the net taxes, that's actually set by the legislature. So farms have 6% share of the net taxes.
But this is statewide, this isn't our
Correct.
district.
Correct. This
Okay.
is statewide. So for 2020, some of the impact on property taxes is the egg to school bond credit, which was new in 2018. However, that amount went up. So it was 40% and it is now going to 50% on this levy. Simplifying categories and tax language, there was nothing really to note there. And increasing the state share of operating referendum, I'll talk about that as we get further along. The egg to school bond credit was enacted in 2017. It's reductions for farmers and timber owners. So if you have farm or timberland, you would see a little credit on there. Otherwise, it is not anything that you would see if you have home or residential. And this egg bond credit is scheduled actually to keep increasing. So next year it'll go up 5% to 55, another 5, and then an additional 10. So in 2023, it'll be a 70% total credit. So on your statement, you could see your egg bond credit on this example. There would be an amount in that egg market value credit if you were to get that. For 2020, it was a $46,226 increase compared to 2019 for our farmers and timber owners. And that is specific to our school district, Brainerd Public Schools. How do we compare to the state? We are in the above the median, so we are at $231,129 for the credit. One of the items that happened this year that really didn't affect our levy other than by line item is that the $300 board approved was transferred to local optional revenue. And then referendum equalization was increased, but we did not benefit from that since there is no operating referendum here. We just have the local optional revenue and then also the $300, which was combined. So this is a breakout of per pupil local optional. We can have up to 300 in tier 1 and then 300 to 700 and up to $724 in tier 2. And then in tier 1 and tier 2, if we had the operating referendum, those are the categories that would be split out. And then the equalizing factors. So in tier 1 LOR, the equalizing factor is $880,000 per RPU. This is Brainerd Public Schools levy and state aid, so you can see that specific to our school district. The red line is the levy. Even though we did have a substantial increase in 2018 with our 2018 to 2019 with our facilities, it doesn't really look like it on that bar graph, or line graph, but it is on there. And then this year, there were the factors that affected our levy was a significant increase with the building land lease, but it was offset by the debt issuances and refundings related to Blueprint 181. And this just shows, for Brainerd Public School District, the local optional revenue, the aid versus levy. So, we get about 850,000 in aid, and then levy is 1.3 in tier 1. And then in tier 2, we get about 3 million in levy with local optional revenue. So how do we compare to other districts? As I said, the operating referendum, we have 0. The average district is about $325. And then at AP adjusted pupil units, it's about 537,000. I know that doesn't seem to make sense, because if we say we have 0 in operating referendum, how can we have then 537,000? That number includes the local optional revenue. So the median district has about 411,000, and we are above that with that 537 for the referendum market value per pupil. So LTFM, in July, the board approved the 10-year facility maintenance plan, which includes the Blueprint 181 projects. We receive about $4 million in LTFM revenue, and of that, 19.88% is state aid. And that would be reflected in the property tax notices that went out. So this is a summary of the current levy by fund. You can see the general fund went up about 988,000. The majority of that is the building land lease that I had discussed, and then general debt service was down about 559,000 due to the refundings and debt issuances we have done. So overall, the tax levy is going to be increasing 1.54% after, if you approve that tonight. So when we put this all together, the historical levy percent changes, you can see it's ranged from down 1.05 to up 19.42 for a 5-year average of 5.22 and a 10-year average of 4.21. And the preliminary levy was 1.61. The change from the preliminary is due to a TIF adjustment, a tax increment finance adjustment from the county. And then here is the 1920 budget summary sheet that was presented and approved in June by the school board. The first budget revision will be presented, or is being worked on and will be presented in January. And school districts are kind of unique in that counties and cities right now are building their levies and building their budgets for next year, whereas we are approving a levy that we have not built the budget for yet. That will be approved in June of this next year. So in our current preliminary budget, the revenues, 21.26% of our current budget is local levy. And then the majority of it is state revenue, 66.25%. Truth in taxation, just the meeting requirements. We have to have it after November 24th, no later than December 30th. It has to be held at 6 p.m. or later. It can be a part of the regular meeting. There has to be discussion on the levy and the budget, and then time for public comment, so, which is after this presentation. Are there any questions? If not, look for approval on the following motion to approve that.
Sure. Very good, thank you, Marcy.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to have public input now regarding truth in taxation only right now. Is there anybody who wanted to come forward and ask questions or make comments? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and do this resolution. Did somebody want to make a motion?
I so move approval of the resolution for final taxation levy.
Second.
Thank you. We have a first from Director Campbell and a second from Director Blacklands. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we're going to have a roll call vote.
Reed Campbell,
Yes.
Tom Haglund,
Yes.
Sue Kern,
Yes.
Ruth Nelson,
Yes.
Bob Nystrom,
Yes.
Charles Blacklands,
Yes.
all in favor?
All right, motion carries. Moving on here, we have recognitions.
Thank you very much. We had an addition to our addendum tonight by adding recognitions to our agenda. And at this time, I'd like to congratulate the Forest View Middle School 8th grader Eric Hebert. He has been selected as a member of the Minnesota State Honor Jazz Band. The State Honor Jazz Band consists of 17 members with only one student per part. Eric will be playing the bari sax and is the only student in the band from Greater Minnesota. And so we really want to congratulate him. That's really awesome to be in the middle school level and to be one of 17 students selected for this All-State Honors Jazz Band. So congratulations to Eric. We're really thrilled for him. So
Very good.
that's it. That's all I have tonight.
All right, thank you. And now we have our regular public input. We have a host full here tonight, so we welcome your comments. We follow Board Policy 206. We do enforce the 3-minute limit. And please no negative comments or allegations against students or employees. And if you have a complaint or an allegation, please submit it in writing to the superintendent's office. There will be no verbal interaction between us and you. Is there anybody? Oh, come on,
My name's Connie Lucio.
please sit here.
I'm a gym teacher. I don't know that I need the microphone. I'm gonna want you to sit down here. I need to sit down?
Then you're on camera.
We record it, you know.
Oh, all right. My name's Connie Licio, and I'm a retired teacher from this district, 31 years. I'm very thankful for the opportunities I had, and I'm here, I guess, for several reasons. Number one, just because I'm no longer an employee, certainly the caring doesn't stop. I also am here because I believe with my whole heart that everyone in this room, all of you, everybody behind me, we're all here because we care about the district, we care about the staff, and most importantly, we care about the kids. I think that's just an unspoken. As I was walking up the stairs to come to the meeting, it struck me, you know, with all the building projects that are going on, which are so sorely needed, and with the strong support we got from the community, looking at the building projects with the bricks that you have coming up the stairs, the one that stood out to me the most was the foundation. And for me, honestly, when I think of foundation, I learned my very first year teaching here that has a whole lot to do with the people in red behind me, and that's the paras. I couldn't have made it through my first year teaching without the friendship and the support and the instruction they did to me, and that carried through until my 31st year. And again, I don't doubt that you are aware of what they do, but I don't think you understand all that they do. And two things, I guess, really hurt me in the past month and a half. A month and a half ago, I learned that one of my dear friends who had worked for the district as a para for 18, 19 years resigned, not because she didn't like her job, she loved her job, but she could no longer wake up every day going into the school knowing that she had to decide which of her 6 to 8 kids was going to fall through the crack because she could not meet all of their needs. Another thing happened just 2 weeks ago. I was downtown shopping, supporting small businesses, and a former student of over 20 years ago came up to me and said, "Mrs. Licio, do something." And it took me a while to, first of all, recognize her, but she has a daughter in the district, or had a daughter in the district, until she decided to pull her. Why? Because her daughter's needs weren't being met because of the cuts that had been taking place to the paras. Whether or not that's on the plate for this coming season, I don't know, but I feel so strongly that The paras, all of them, those that have just started this first year to those who have been here as long as I have been here, are the best bang for the buck the district can get. And it's sickening almost when I think of the hourly wage. Some of you are business owners, and I'm quite certain that your hourly wage for your employees is a lot higher than what these folks start at. Not to mention the benefits. I know that benefits are so important for all of us. Some of the paras don't take the benefits because it takes too much of a chunk out of their paycheck. Others who do take the benefits work a second or third job to still be able to pay their bills and get the benefits. But yet, there seems to be a sliding scale on what the employees of the district pay. Some pay a lot for their benefits package, some not so much. And to me, no one's health is more important than anyone else. I guess I don't have answers. Being on a city council now, I have a whole new respect for trying to be prudent as far as balancing the budget. And I know it's not easy, and you have my respect for trying to do that. However, if cuts need to be made, my hope would be that if there are staffing cuts, that those cuts would take place in places other than the schools. The kids are our priority, they're our future. They don't know who is a certified teacher and who isn't. They don't care, nor should they. One of my dear friends got a hug the other day and said, "You're the best teacher I ever had." She's a para, but the kids don't know that. They know that they're there and they care. And certainly with all the mental health issues that are going on and all of the hurts that the kids are coming to school with now, more so than ever, it's not going to get better. We know that. So to me, we should be adding paras, not cutting.
Okay, Connie.
When I look, I know you have to cut me off. However, one last thing. When I look at the starting wages for retail associates and for supervisors at our local skating rinks at $13 an hour, I know for a fact they start out at far less than that. So anyway, respectfully, I ask that you consider saving the paras.
All right, thank you, Connie.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who had a comment tonight? Seeing none, we'll go ahead. First up, we have our building project update with Damian Williams from ICS and whoever else he brings. Scott?
We got it. All right, got it to work. We got a room full tonight, that's great. So here's our bond improvements update for Monday, December 9th, 2019. We're gonna just review project updates for Wave 1 and Wave 2. We're gonna start off with high school. So today we had a tour. Scott, I don't know if you want to give a quick update on how the tour went. He was our leader today on the tours.
Yeah, the tour was very, very cold and a little bit brisk. So thanks everybody who walked around today. As you can see from the pictures, these were taken last week of that shell, and what we saw today, you know, we've got 3 sides closed in, so they're making very, very good progress. Area 1 and 3 steel joist decking, that's starting tomorrow. The Crow Wing County Fairgrounds was nice enough to let us use their parking lots to stage some truckloads there to minimize our traffic impact on 5th Street there, so appreciative of that. Area 2 footings and foundations, we can't get concrete today, tomorrow, or the next day due to weather, but as soon as we can, we'll be getting more concrete going on that. They're just about rounding the corner and gonna do the home stretch where the crane pad goes up into the precast area there. We walked in, we saw area 3, the main level, or D, framing HVAC rough-ins were going on. We saw it was all framed out, all of our rough-ins are going in there. HVAC, electrical, they're working pretty hard to get that done. Area 5, our center courtyard, that's all cleared and grubbed. And we got the cool tank bridge thing going over our F-link there. So everything's going about as well as can be expected as far as that's concerned. And then the music promo video filming December 11th at 4:30. If you all want to show up and kind of see how that goes on, it's going to be in the Performing Arts Center location. Mindoli Plumbing Plan Review Update. So we got the comments back from the plan we had agreed to go forward with a couple weeks ago, and we got the design team's working on it, and we hope to have our responses to those requests for additional information back in by the end of the week. Any other questions?
Is the project still on time?
Yeah, we're trending about a week behind schedule right now, and that's been pretty consistent throughout. So we're
Okay.
figuring out some ways to chip off little areas of the school as we can get to them. As you can see today when we toured it, we got into the F-Link early, we got into the courtyard early. So, you know, it's if you look at it as a black and white, finish to start type logical thing, about a week. But as we start pulling these pieces in, that just helps us at the end of the day. So, yes, we are behind schedule about a week, but we are actively pursuing other options to fast track other areas. So, I would say we're actually ahead of schedule at this point.
That's awesome. Very good.
It was so impressive. It was
It was.
really fun.
Absolutely.
Felt like when you're looking and you're looking up, you felt like it was a skyscraper. It was amazing.
Yeah, 53 feet 4 inches.
Yeah. How high is it?
53 feet 4 inches.
53 feet 4 inches. Wow.
How much does one of those panels weigh?
Just shy of 50,000 pounds.
Wow. That's why we had our hard hats on.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Alright, if there's no other questions, I'll let them move on to the other not as cool project.
Thank you though for today.
Oh, they're all
Thank you.
cool.
It was a great tour, Scott. Thanks.
Thanks, Scott. New Baxter Elementary, vapor barrier and installation is taking place at the media core. Framing and sheathing on the cafeteria wing, or roofing on the kindergarten wing. Mechanical and electrical rough-ins at the classroom wing. Weekly progress meetings on site Tuesdays at 11 a.m. Project's going very well, on schedule. Things are doing great. We got a great team there, so. Both Al and Justin. Any questions on that? Okay. Nisswa Elementary, virtually the same spot, insulation, vapor barrier, working on mechanical and electrical rough-ins at the classroom addition. Masonry at the classroom addition on the east side. When we did our tours, they were wrapping up the west side. Weekly progress meetings on site on Wednesdays at 2 o'clock. I guess I didn't mention, we did do the elementary tours the week before. I'm sure everybody seen that, seen the pieces done on that in the media. But we had a great turnout and a great walk through there as well. So, and we had just as much weather as we did today. So, dealt with snow and all kinds of things.
Let us know. Yeah.
Forest View Middle School, not a lot of change here, substantially complete. We got some work scheduled over the Christmas break, with the signage and, the exterior metal panels. We did check on that parking lot, Charles, to make sure our width on that entrance was adequate. Tim Ramuth confirmed for us that was 24 feet wide, so wanted to make sure. I don't know if it still feels tight or but it is a standard width right now, so.
Thank you.
Harrison Elementary, exterior brick facade is continuing. Interior steel stud framing and rough-ins at the admin suite, first and second level are ongoing. Interior stair 1 has been erected. Roofing is ongoing. Demo on the corner of the existing gym is taking place, so we're getting that connecting hallway that goes to the administration area. And then we have our weekly progress meetings on site Thursdays at 11 a.m. Project has got good momentum. Things are going lots better. So Kyle and Robert are doing a great job of getting that completed. So
Nice playground equipment too, I saw, yeah.
yeah.
That is nice.
Garfield Elementary, conditional use permit has been approved by the city council. No conditions. Pre-bid meeting was well attended. We had roughly 25 contractors attend that meeting, so we know we have interest out there. So we'll expect competitive bids on bid day. We did move the bid.
Talk about that?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, we
Okay.
did have an addendum go out midday today. We had some questions come in really late, and they were just really good questions that needed to be answered. And we wanted to get them incorporated, so we got competitive numbers on those questions. So we didn't want to do like a post addendum after the bid with a low bidder. We'd rather have it set up so we're getting competitive numbers on that information. So we got that squared away.
So for the board to know, the bid opening is not tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Instead, it'll be Thursday at 2 o'clock here in the boardroom. So the date has been changed to accommodate that addendum. So thank you for letting us know that and for doing that.
Lowell Elementary, I have Mark here. Go ahead, give us an update if you would.
Good evening. So quick update on the pre-construction process for Lowell Elementary. We've received the approval from the city council for the conditional use permit. Bid invitations have been sent out. We're currently pricing the drawings now. Had our pre-bid walk this afternoon, had about 20 local contractors there. And the trades that showed up were the ones that you want to be there, so it was very encouraging to have the participation that we got.
Awesome.
And then for the bid opening, that's planned for December 19th at 2 p.m. here. Riverside Elementary, very similar to the Lowell Elementary project. Tracking a couple weeks behind that as planned. That also was approved by the city council for the conditional use permit. The bids will be going out here on December 16th, or the solicitation for bids will be going out. And then the pre-bid meeting is, one correction to this, is scheduled for December 23rd. We thought we might get a better turnout if we went before the holiday, I guess the time between the holidays instead of in between them. So we moved that up to the 23rd here today, and I've made some plans for that, and you'll see an update there. And then still planning for January 9th to open bids here at 2 p.m.
Typically, contractors won't open their plans till after they go to the pre-bid, so we thought they should think about the project through the Christmas holiday, so. Baxter Early Childhood, conditional use permit, working on that submittal, surveying and replatting, and that's gonna be submitted on the 17th. And then we're preparing for bid solicitation in January, looking to open bids in early February. So that's tracking very well.
Very good.
Any questions? Okay, thanks.
I think we're set.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Vivian.
Enjoy your concert.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, next up, the approval of the minutes from the regular school board meeting on November 25th.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. We have a first from Director Nystrom, a second from Director Nelson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Next up, the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you.
Second?
Thank you. We have a first from Director Haglund, a second from Director Campbell. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Next up, the site reports. We have Patty Wallace is going to talk to us about the science standard status and preparing for implementation for K-4. Welcome.
I knew you'd help me. Good evening.
Good evening. Welcome.
Some of our current work in the Department of Teaching and Learning for Elementary is because we have new science standards in the state of Minnesota. They were finished in draft form in May, and they went to the commissioner for approval. And then it's about a 2-year process through the legislature before they're officially in law, but we start our work sooner than that. In elementary, we are responsible for all 3 strands of science. That changes when students get into 6th grade, and then they focus on 1 strand per year. But in elementary, we're responsible for all 3 strands at each grade level. Within those 3 strands are also engineering, computer science, the nature of science, and then contributions of Minnesota American Indian tribes and communities. Those integrated areas, they're spelled out a little better or to more specificity than they have been in the past. They've been there, but not quite as specific as they are in this current version. So our work centers around our curriculum that we use. We currently have what the majority of the elementary curriculum is a 2nd edition of FOSS. That's the hands-on science curriculum. That is the majority of what we use at the elementary level. We're looking at piloting the 4th edition of FOSS, which continues to meet the Minnesota standards even in their new edition. We also use Tech Mobile, which is a program through Sourcewell that comes to our schools that exposes kids to it. They have just really cool supplies that we can't afford. A lot of it is STEM-based that relates to the standards as well. So we're looking at how we take what they have been offering us in the past and what still fits with the new standards and what do we need to look for in other places. The other piece that we use is called Picture Perfect Science, and that's where kids, you take, if your topic is whatever, say it's magnetism, you might read, the kids would read a nonfiction and a fiction book about magnetism. So through English Language Arts, they're looking at being able to, in literature, what is nonfiction versus what is fiction. Not every science concept that you read about is nonfiction, and how do you learn about that? A lot of our work is focused around professional development with FOSS. This was some 1st grade teachers that we had at a training back in November, experiencing what they would experience with their kids in the classroom. So that was a lot of fun. But it's better to see what the kids are doing. Harrison started the piloting of their kit called Energy in 4th grade, lots of magnetism. So you can see the kids having fun with electromagnets and different things there. So that's where our focus is. So we have actually until 2023 before the state expects the schools to be fully implemented the new standards, and that's when the MCAs change. So we have several years to get ready. So our plan at the elementary level is to focus on 1 strand per year for the next 3 years. And then we are well ahead of the state testing that then occurs in 5th and 8th grade.
So when does the legislature actually approve the standards?
It's usually a 2-year process once it gets to them.
So there
I'm not
could-
exactly sure what they have to do and why it takes 2 years.
Yeah. So but there could be changes, right? Or-
That doesn't, it doesn't,
It doesn't-
rarely are there changes
Okay.
made. That once the commissioners approved, what the commissioner approved in, it's the end of May, beginning of June, was the 3rd draft, and after the commissioner's approval, there's typically no change. So I'm not sure why the 2 years.
So just over the course of your career, it looked so fun because they were all doing hands-on.
Uh-huh.
Has that changed a lot from more book science to more hands-on science?
Not as much at the elementary level.
Okay.
We've used FOSS for as long as I can remember.
Really? Okay, I didn't know that.
We're in the 2nd edition of it. We've had it, I would say, at least 15 years. So maybe way back, but I can't remember that far. But I think elementary has always done a really nice job of hands-on, and kids absolutely love science. This picture that was on the intro slide, when a teacher sent me that last year, she said that was one of the few times all year that that child smiled.
Oh, cool.
What is he holding?
It was something from a Picture Perfect science kit. I'm not sure what the creation was or what they were exploring. A model of something, I'm not sure.
Very good.
Thank you.
Okay, did you have any?
Thanks,
Okay,
Patty.
no questions? We're moving on then, I guess. Thank you. Next up, the Brainerd High School Course Master Update. Sue Anderson and Michelle
Pika.
Pika.
I got it. Yay. Good evening. I'm Sue Anderson, and this is Michelle Pika, and we're here to talk about the proposed revisions to our high school course master for next year. So, our current system that we have for identification of courses is numerical. It's a 3-digit number, and it's been there as long as I've been with the district. But when I look back, it goes back to at least 1993, 94, and probably many years before that. We've kind of run out of options having the same system for so long with now all the new needs that are coming out of our system for data.
So in the process of this, we had decided to come up with a group of participants that have historical information in regards to the course master and our registration guide, along with people that have worked in our course master before the beginning of time. It was a great collaboration of people, brought in a lot of great information. We did a lot of research with other school districts and other colleges actually to see on how they have their registration guide and their course masters set up as well. We came up with a 6-digit course code, and along with that, we had noticed that some of our course names were not fitting the bill as much as we had hoped.
So some of the reasons why we wanted to make the changes, just so we can access the data a little bit cleaner, so that courses are grouped a little bit more efficiently and effectively. So when we're pulling off reports or we need to upload curriculum to particular content areas, it's a little easier right now. It's kind of a mess.
Yeah, since 1994, we've had a lot of hands in the pot, so a lot of people had some great ideas about course numbers and course names, but unfortunately, we can't go in and go change those names once they've been entered in, so it's time to make a change, and this is a perfect timing because we're merging schools, so pretty good.
So, as Michelle stated, we're looking at a 6-digit number. In general, the first number of the sequence is going to identify the building site. So number 1 is going to be BHS. They're going to be the first, but this will be implemented across all buildings in the district. But the high school is going to start. The second number will indicate a department, so English, social studies, arts, Phy-Ed. The third number will indicate the type of course, whether it's a regular education, special education, an online version of a course, which is provided by our teachers, or if it's a summer school class. And then the last 3 will be actually the identifier for the course. An example of what that looks like is, as Michelle said, we're now going to have 9-12 under one roof, so there really isn't a reason to have 9th grade specific courses anymore. So we changed, the SC used to stand for South Campus, as an indicator for us to know where the course was being offered. So those are just some samples of what that's going to look like. You have a synopsis of all of the recommendations that we'd like to tweak. We did bring this to DAC a couple weeks ago. The reason behind this is if we're going to go through all of the effort of retyping the entire course master from scratch, we'd really like to get the names aligned and some of the processes more specific. And so there were recommendations, rather than indicating a course as a fall or a spring, with that indicator on the number, we're going to go with just an A or a B, because there are circumstances where we may need to offer that A class in the second semester, as well as if there was ever any time in the future that our structure at the high school changed, that's not so hard to move in another option for course identification than if we're just going and limiting ourselves to a fall or spring. Anything else?
You guys got any questions?
How automated is this, once you get this set up, and then when it comes to the registration and for the kids, is any of that change, or?
Registration, everything will be exactly the same. They'll just see different numbers. They'll see the names within the registration guide, so when they're going to go pick their courses, they have, I believe it's some sort of a paper that they fill out with what courses that they're wanting or not. So none of that will really make it too difficult for the students to be able to go and register. It's just more for back end.
So they can't register using their computers?
Yes, they'll
Okay.
be able to do that.
Oh, they will, okay.
Yep,
Yeah, so they'll go through their registration guide and they'll make their class choices on the paper form that's in the guide. And then when they sit down in one of their classes at the high school, they'll walk them through the process of actually going in and making the requests.
Great.
So today, this presentation is to preface the fact that we're asking the board to approve the logistical changes of the names that was provided on that document, so that the high school can move forward. Typically, name changes would go through a curriculum process. A lot of times that's on the back time. This is just to try to do a cleanup.
So each building has a number?
Each building will have a number, yes.
Okay, so how high does the number go?
We'll go to, it's a 6-digit number. The first will go 1 to 9. So our elementary schools, I believe, fall into 8. We're giving the high school 3 numbers, just because we have online classes, we have post-secondary classes, and those all are different components of their course master, so we're giving them a little latitude.
They're the leader.
Yeah,
They're the leader.
Okay.
so we're gonna give them some time to get it set up before we push it out. We'll go to Forest View, AEC, LEC, and elementary after that.
So when the kids register online on their computer and say there's a lot that want a certain thing, then you make more of that choice or more hours, or how
That's
does
an
that work?
option. Once everyone goes in and makes their first and second, they always have alternatives.
Sure.
And we can only have so many spaces available in some classes because we
Right.
only have so many teachers. And so if there's an overabundance of kids asking for one particular class, they will go into an alternative. But that's where our high school registrar comes into play. She runs all of those reports out for Ms. Rusk to look at, and that's where they try to build out their schedule based upon kids' requests.
Very good. Any more questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Safe routes to school, grant applications, Reed and Paul Sandy. No, Paul Sandy.
Truth and taxation for the
Oh,
city.
sure.
Yeah, so couldn't make it.
That's okay, Reed can handle it.
Sorry, one more second here. Okay, good evening. Paul Sandy's not able to make it tonight. He's at the City of Brainerd Truth and Taxation meeting, so was trying to make it here, but unable to. So I will do my best to speak to this subject. I wasn't here during round 1, but Paul and I had a good conversation on Friday. Just to provide a little bit of a recap for you, you may recall in 2011, the city requested and received a federally funded grant to address sidewalks in northeast Brainerd around the Garfield and Lowell elementary schools. That was, again, federally funded. That project was split into 3 phases, and on the map and behind you or here on the screen is, and I have handouts if you would like paper copies, but the first through third phases, and those have all been completed now. So according to Paul, the city has taken that and completed all of those. So,
Oh, I'm sorry.
pardon, go ahead. Yep.
The green line at the,
Lowell Elementary, yeah.
yeah, the small one, why doesn't that connect better with the other lines? The That's to the left
The one
there?
just around Lowell there, so you're talking about these
Yeah.
here? Again, I don't know the full detail, Bob, of why that was designated just for that one specific area. There was a needs assessment completed. This was that needs assessment back in 2011, for each one of those schools. So if I go,
Lowell has more sidewalks around it though.
yeah,
Oh,
and,
that's true.
and so I don't know the application process. I don't know what priority was put on,
You know,
the
I think they
schools.
started with Garfield.
Yeah.
Because there weren't many sidewalks around
Correct.
there.
We focused a lot on Garfield back then.
Yep. So, the project itself, if I go down here a little further, each school, they had a walking assessment of it back in 2011 that created this plan. And so here at Garfield, you can see there was difficult drop off and pick up, and it addressed a lot of those concerns. So that was the first wave. Since then, there has been a new grant that has come to light here. And instead of it being a federally funded program, it's a state funded program through MnDOT. And so currently in 2019, from about October to middle January, they're accepting applications for grants, continued grants for Safe Roads to School. The state at this time is going to fund 20 projects. The average study fee is $50,000 per school, or $75,000 for a district of 2 to 3 schools. We're obviously larger than that, so we're going to apply in single school increments. And so Paul and I had a good conversation, and we're going to look to apply for 3 schools. And ranking those in priority, we thought it would best be served to look at Harrison, continue Lowell second, and then look at Riverside third, should we be awarded those. And so we would ask for funding in that order. Obviously, the Oak Street right in front of Harrison is kind of a concern for students crossing there, and Lowell is more in a residential, off of a main thoroughfare type of a setting. So those were the 3 that Paul brought forward, and we can change that priority before we apply the grant, but that's what the city had in mind for their traffic study and their engineering study. So if we were to be awarded a grant for the city of Brainerd, the city of Brainerd would work to provide the information to outline any of these Safe Routes to Schools plans and information to the MnDOT. This would allow us to assemble accurate project budgets for upcoming grant cycles for Safe Routes to School. So again, this is just for the engineering piece of it, just to create the plan and put a budget together. Any questions that you have for me? Otherwise, I have a request for a resolution or for a board action.
And this action is in support of
Yeah.
the city.
Yep, so the action that I'm requesting would be to formally support the city of Brainerd in applying for 3 Safe Routes to Schools engineering studies for Harrison, Lowell, and Riverside. Okay,
If you go back to your map,
yeah.
was it the certain color that they were looking at doing now, or these ones are all done?
These were passed. So so if you see the black lines here was phase 1, that was done in 2014. And then the green and yellow was, it said here, approved 2019 TAP. So I'm not sure if
Okay.
Paul's acronym on that, but I believe this was the construction that was done just this last summer.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
So that completed last grant cycle,
I
that
didn't
first
realize this
grant.
happened last summer.
And then is there any cost that we have to put in?
Nope, this is a fully funded MnDOT study, so they already have an engineering firm designated. So they're just looking for the project ideas. There's no matching fees required, no matching funds required. Potentially, if we were to do the engineering study and then apply for a Safe Routes to School grant later in their whatever cycle they put the Safe Routes to School grants out there, then they could potentially look for some matching funds. But right now, this is fully funded to do the engineering studies. Hopefully, if a school was selected and an engineering study would be done on it, obviously, I think they would prioritize that project higher because they've already paid for the engineering work to be done, so.
Okay.
Reed, can you clarify something?
Yeah.
In our agenda, we have to approve the grant applications for those 3.
Correct.
Is it 3 engineering studies?
I would just word it, Lane, approval of support for Safe Routes to School engineering studies grant.
Okay.
So just add engineering studies in between there if you would, please.
Okay.
Just because this is not an actual project, I want to just be clear on the engineering studies portion.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any questions? Any more questions, I should say?
The snow removal on those routes is still up to the residents though, right? It's not a.
The street
that's not-
snow removal is up to the city, and then the sidewalks in front of their residence is the residents' responsibility, correct? I believe that's their city ordinance. And then we take care of any, school sidewalks and parking lots and things like that. Yep,
Okay. Thank you.
okay,
Thanks, Reed.
yep.
Next up, we have our action items tonight. First is the approval of the VHS Course Master.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, we have a first from Director Hagelin, a second from Director Blacklands. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, the ratification of the directors, assistant directors, and dean's contract for 1921. Angie's going to talk to us a little bit.
Hello. So you have the tentative agreement with you. I just wanted to touch on kind of some of the highlights of what that included. So the first thing you might notice is the change in the title of the unit. They did opt to change their unit title from non-principals to directors, assistant directors, and deans. And we move forward with that. A lot of the other changes was clarification and expansion of the language within the agreement, just to mirror some of the things that were in practice but not really included in the previous contract. So, such as non-contract days, holidays, FMLA, grievance procedure, those types of things were included into the new agreement. There was a health insurance movement, so current administrators are moving from Plan D, which is a $3,000, $6,000 deductible plan, to Plan H, which is a 4-8 plan, starting January 1st. And then any new members to the group hired on or after January 1st of 2020 will be going on to Plan G. And that's the $3,000, $6,000 with HSA plan. Another large savings for the district came into play with the severance section of the agreement, where we are moving our lump sum payments from 403B into an HRA, which allows us to draw those funds out of OPEB versus our general fund. So that'll be a considerable savings for the district.
So Angie, just to clarify then, on 1/1/20, the plan will be H.
Correct. So current
So anyone that was,
on D will move to Plan H on January 1.
so that's a move for all current, and then new
Yep.
hires will go to Plan G?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. Any other questions about?
What's the rationale of changing from principal, or
I think just more clarification of the group. We did discuss just having directors, just as in a directors group, but then we have the deans also a part of that, so we just wanted to really clarify who the members of the group were versus kind of the vague non-principals, kind of was pretty open-ended onto who that applied to.
Okay,
Any other questions?
I think that's it.
Okay.
Thank you, Angie.
Thank you.
Is there a motion?
I so moved ratification of a directors, assistant directors, and dean's contract for 2019-21.
Thank you.
second?
Thank you. We have a first from Director Campbell, a second from Director Nystrom. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And next up, the approval of support for Safe Routes Engineering Study Grant with the City of Brainerd for Harrison, Lowell, and Riverside Elementary Schools that Reed just talked to us about.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, we have a first from Director Nelson, a second from Director Blacklands. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Now, the informational period of our meeting tonight, there's no foundation report. Business services report, Marcy. She's running to the front. We're going to talk about our enrollment.
So the enrollment report is in your packet, and compared to last month, we are down 21 kids, kindergarten through 12, and then early childhood through 12, down about 6. You know, I asked Sue if she could give me some more information on where those 21 went to, and she did a summary. And the big one that, you know, jumped out is high school, 13 transferred but did not move, 8 to online, 5 to close districts. So beyond that, we don't get any other information, but just wanted you to know that, because I know that that generally is the question when we see those kind of big decreases, where are they going? So wanted to note that. And then, is there any questions on the enrollment report? Otherwise, I just wanted to give a quick update. You know, we had looked at contracting services for our construction billings to help with that, and the lowest rate we could get an additional 400 hours at a minimum, or excuse me, the amount of hours we could get versus getting a full-time person here, 40 hours a week, we could get an additional 400 hours with their lowest billing rate, and they actually had a range of 75 to 155, so that's at a minimum. So,
And it was off-site.
Yeah.
There wasn't anyone on site to help with managing some of the finances for Blueprint 181. It was all away from Brainerd, so.
so when we look at that position, we would like to make it a 3-year temporary position that is someone who is here hired as an employee.
And their primary emphasis would be just to help us with all the additional financial pieces that are incurring with this building project, that the business department is just really feeling overwhelmed to trying to get everything done. But it would be a temporary position. The board's already approved the position, but we just want to make sure that you're comfortable with us moving that direction. We know that we can get a full-time person for a short period of time for just about the same money that we could somebody that's just contracted to help us make sure that all the building projects are even. How many contractors did you say you'd have next summer? How many?
Well, ICS has said, I want to say like 10,000, but I don't know if that's accurate.
Additional ones next
Yeah.
summer, yeah.
10,000 what?
Different
Contractors.
Vendors.
different bills and vendors and contractors and
Not
such.
10,000.
Contractors. Bills.
Maybe
Bills,
invoices.
probably.
Maybe invoices.
It's gotta be invoices, yeah.
Yeah.
I would think so too, but it's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll give you an update after the summer. How's that?
Aren't we getting, but aren't we getting invoices just from the individual contractors, like once a month?
So we get an invoice from ICS, and it summarizes all the payments that we need to make to each individual contractor. So it could be up to 25 contractors on one summary sheet.
Per month?
Yep. And then each of those are split based on all the funding buckets. So I could have a contractor who is paid with abatement, you know, all the various buckets. It's not just one code. So it's a lot of time.
Is it possible to have ICS do that? You'd write one check and then they would
They would do it all.
give that?
They're
Is that
smiling
possible?
back there.
Oh,
We could ask.
okay.
Okay. Is there
Okay.
anything?
Thank you,
That's it.
Marcy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Next up, superintendent's report.
Right, thank you. I would just like to reiterate a little bit that I'd like to thank all the people who have gone on the tours the last couple of weeks. Last week, to go to Harrison and to Nisswa and to the new elementary school in Baxter and to see all the work that's done, it's just extremely impressive. And then again today to go and see what's being led with the North Campus of the Brainerd High School and the Performing Arts Center, and how much work is actually getting done. It's just amazing to me. You know, you kind of see it as you drive by or you walk by or whatever, but when you actually go on those tours, it's just, it's really impressive. And so thank you very much to all the people from ICS that are sticking around to do that, and all the principals and the people who have wanted to go on the tours and signed up with Janet to take those tours. Just so everyone knows, we intend to do it again in the spring. And we might do something even a little bit different that opens up more of the buildings for a few hours, where we can really encourage a lot of people to come in and see all the work that's getting done. But I think we'll get through this winter season, and then we'll really bring forth the opportunity to really open it up for the public to see just how incredible this is and what we're experiencing. I also would like to just say, last week was really fun. We had a number of us participate in the Radiothon to prevent child abuse. And it was so impressive to see how many people from the school district volunteered to answer phones, sent in donations. I know Assistant Superintendent Hahn and I, we had a little competition, and I barely won just at the last minute. But we were taking tallies of people that were calling who had children, or who had students, or who had grandchildren that were in our different buildings. And Riverside Elementary won, one class in Riverside Elementary won a pizza party from Assistant Superintendent Hahn and I. And so we were trying to have a little competition between our schools, which was super fun, and how many people called in especially for that. So thank you to everyone who donates their time and money and energy to take care of our precious children. And so beautiful opportunity that they do each year. I have a number of things with this. With December and January, we have a very busy time of year, and I know that Chair Kern is going to talk about a few things that are on our agenda, but I do have just a couple of things that I would like to add, just as reminders moving forward. We start with, again, that the bids for Garfield have moved to Thursday, the 12th at 2 o'clock rather than tomorrow. And I know that Janet sent out the information in case there's a quorum of the board that is there, and so we invite people to come to that as well. Also, let's see, the ones that I really want to talk about that you probably won't talk about. Oh, on the 17th, last year we started something kind of fun in the superintendent's office. We just, from 10 o'clock to 1:30, we have a little Christmas tea, and we invite anyone who is free and can come over at some point during that 2.5 hours or so to come and have cider or some cookies. All of us are not professional bakers, but we do our best, and so we invite everyone to come in and just to share the festivities a little bit. A reminder to the board, we have Lowell bid opening at 2 o'clock on the 19th, and on the 20th is our last day before the holiday break. And the district offices will be closed several days during the holiday, but there will be a couple of days where there will be people in the district office. And we'll return with our kids and our staff on Tuesday, Tuesday, January 2nd, 2020. That week then, on the 9th, we'll have the Riverside bid opening at 2 o'clock on the 9th of January, right here at the same place. So we've got a lot of fun things happening. And in February, we'll do our last wave 2, which will be Baxter Early Childhood. There are a couple of things that I'd like to give you a little bit of a heads up on coming into January. One of them is that the organizational meeting, which will be our next meeting of the Board of Education, that will be held on Monday, January 13th at 4:45 p.m. So please note the times here. There's a little bit different for our organizational meeting, and the regular meeting will start at 5 o'clock that night. We've got a huge agenda for that evening with lots of bids to approve and all kinds of things, some design development, some construction documents to approve, and so it's going to be a pretty busy meeting. Also, I'd like to remind everyone that on the evening of the 15th through the 17th. The Board of Education will be going to the 2020 Minnesota School Board Association Leadership Conference called Learning from the Past, Leading with the Future. And as I've done every year since I've been here, I want to remind people that there may be a quorum of the board, either driving together, eating, presenting, or attending professional development sessions while at the Minnesota School Board Conference. And so we want to make sure that we acknowledge that and that people know that there could be a quorum of the board present at that professional development. And then second board meeting of the month in January will be the 27th at 6 o'clock. So that's all I have.
Oh, very good, you got them all.
Did I get all the important ones?
I think you did.
Good.
We got Christmas coming up in break. That'll be wonderful.
Great.
An opportunity to share time with your family. I guess we can just take a motion to adjourn. We'll see y'all next year.
And happy holidays to everyone. Yeah.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. And all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No, we have that budget.